Welcome to DVC Alumni, where every story inspires the next. The official podcast of the Diablo Valley College Alumni Association. As we celebrate 75 years of DVC's impact on education, careers, and community, we're honored to share the incredible journeys of alumni who've transformed their time on our vibrant campus into meaningful careers, community contributions, and personal success. Each Tuesday, we spotlight DVC alumni, from first-generation graduates to entrepreneurs, educators, and leaders who share the triumphs, challenges, and pivotal moments that shaped their lives. And on Thursdays, it's Resource Thursday. We dive into the programs, departments, and services that make DVC the supportive, dynamic community it is, exploring how they serve students and how you can connect with them. Whether you're a current student, recent graduate, or longtime alum, join us as we honor DVC's legacy and discover how our past continues to inspire the future. Thank you for being part of this journey. Be sure to tune in, subscribe, and celebrate with us. DVC Alumni, where every story inspires the next. And now, join our host, Alumni Manager, Charlie Daly.
And we are live, so why don't you introduce yourself?
Hello, my name's Oliver Greenwood, and that's me.
Okay.
I'm a DVC alum.
Yay! So tell us a little bit about yourself, kind of your journey to get into DVC. What did that look like?
Okay, so I came to DVC the natural way. I had just gotten out of the Marine Corps, so I can back up a little bit on that part of the story and how I got into the Marines. I graduated from Benicia High School, and after high school, I was looking for adventure, wanted to serve my country, and joined the Marine Corps. They guaranteed me the infantry, and I had them put it in writing because I'm no dummy. And I became a machine gunner. And
wow.
Yes, so I got to travel the world, and I went to Somalia. Was one of the first places that I saw action, and it was everything that I thought it was going to be, and it was the adventure and more. And I met a lot of great people while I was in. Served with many great people. Just the adventure was nonstop, and a lot of guys that I stay in contact with today. And they're just wonderful individuals. So the life of a machine gunner it's incredible while you're in the Marine Corps. But when you get out, the job market is a bit wanting. And so I get out, and I'm like, what am I going to do? And I started going to Napa Junior College, my first semester there. And while I was going to Napa, I met my wife, or then girlfriend. She was living in Walnut Creek, and which was fine. But I was living in at Glen Cove. I had gotten out of the Marines, and I was living with my father. And he was, but she was in Walnut Creek, and I was going to school in Napa. Logistically, it didn't make sense, so I decided to come over here to Diablo Valley College, and thus began the journey. And that was in 1996.
Okay.
So I started school here, and that was the fall of 96. So I did a semester over at Napa in the spring of 96, and then DVC had me for the next couple of years.
And while you were here at DVC, what are some of the memories that stand out?
So what I loved about DVC, I started taking general education classes just initially. I'm like, well, let me just fulfill classes initially just on the state track. I wanted to just start fulfilling anything I could. And I love just meeting people. I love the atmosphere. It's a big population here.
Yes.
The number of students here, what is it? It's like 24,000. It's always remained strong as far as the numbers here.
Yeah, it's between 18 and 24,000.
Okay, yeah, it's huge. And so it's just a bustling campus, horrible parking, bustling campus. And I remember I would just struggle finding parking every day, and I'd be running to class, and those were my early memories. But the one of my early instructors, I believe Bill Poschman, was, and he has since passed away, just an amazing guy. He was teaching speech and oral interpretation. And what that class did for me, it got me in the library. We had to write speeches. In the oral interpretation class, we had to read and we had to speak. And we had to do these presentations of poetry and all sorts of other writings. And we had to get up in front of the class. Initially, I was hesitant because I didn't know people. I was fresh out of the Marines. I'm like, am I going to fit in? Here I've got these different life experiences. Coming from the military, I'm a combat veteran. And I don't have anything in common in my mind with these younger students. But I had to bridge this gap somehow. And that was one of the classes that did it for me. And so he was just a remarkable man, and it just really helped push me through. And so I love that. And there was just some readings that I just absolutely adored that I've carried with me for years. And so I love that. And then I got into some of the other professors. Bob Manberg, who's since passed away as well. I took several classes from him, more in the social sciences. And then another professor was in history, Manny Gonzalez. And now Manny was just an interesting professor in that he would grade on a point scale if you're raising your hand and participating in class. I didn't realize this at first, but he mentioned it. And there was one other student in there, Sue Thompson, and she knew this right away. She understood what was going on, and she was raising her hand, and she was getting the most points. And I'm like, hold on, and I love the spirit of competition. And Sue, I just bumped into her. I haven't seen Sue in about 20 years, and I see her 2 days ago at this Proposition 36 presentation. Now, so she's raising her hand. I'm like, what's going on here? And so the competition gets going, and he's like, yeah, there's a point. Okay, Oliver shared. That was a meaningful dialogue here. And so now what Manny did, he asked me what my plans were. I'm like, well, I'm just kind of showing up, going to class. He's like, well, after DVC. I'm like, well, I was planning on going to Sonoma State. And he's like, oh, Sonoma State, that's a good school. But you have a first-rate mind. I'm like, well, thank you. It's like, you should think about going to a UC. Like, a UC? Like, I didn't know any difference. I'm a machine gunner. I'm like, what the hell do I know? I'm like, there's a difference between a state school and a UC? And he's like, yeah, there's a difference. UCs are better schools. You should think about going to a UC. Then you can think about going further. I'm like, oh. He was like, if you're planning on going further, I wasn't planning on going further. If you're planning on going further, then you should think about that. And what he did is he planted some seeds that actually he unpackaged some seeds, and then he planted some seeds that I had no idea even existed. I was planning on going to Sonoma State. That was my plan. In fact, I was just planning on hanging out with my girlfriend. That was my plan. And now I'm thinking, well, maybe I'm going to get a doctorate somewhere. Maybe something else is going to happen. Here I'm just hanging out. And all the while I'm working full time. I'm trying to get by. Oh, and so I was waiting tables, and I was working as a magician.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
okay.
So let me backtrack. I just picked up this book, this called Mark Wilson's Complete Guide to Magic, and I was like, this is kind of awesome. I'm learning some card tricks. I'm working at this restaurant called the Washington House over in Benicia. It's a breakfast and lunch place, which was perfect for my school schedule. I could work the weekends and pick up maybe a shift during the week. And this guy comes in. His name's Rick Allen, and he's a magician. A professional. I never even knew that existed. I'm like, is that real? I've seen guys on TV like David Copperfield, and that's like, that's kind of cool. But he comes in, and this is what this guy was doing for a living. And he says he's a magician. I'm like, hey, I've been working on some card tricks. Can I show you? He's like, no, I don't really want to see. I'm like, great, let me show you this anyway. So I show him like 10 card tricks, and he's mildly entertained. He says he was bored later on, but and then he says, well, here's what I'm currently doing some shows at then Marine World Africa USA, for these Halloween shows. Why don't you carry my gear in for me, and you can sit and watch the shows? And so we began this relationship, and I got to care. I became his roadie.
I was going to say you're a magician's roadie. You got that on your resume.
I know it. And so I was the magician's roadie. I'm bringing his gear in, and I'm setting up stuff, and I'm getting to watch the show, and I could not believe how cool it was. I had never been this close to live magic before, and it was incredible. And I'm just in awe. And I'm carrying this stuff. I'm asking him all these questions about the magic show. And he just can't believe that I have so many questions, and I'm annoying the heck out of him with all my questions. And he says, well, you can keep doing this. And so I did. I'm going with him to birthday parties. I'm going to senior centers. I'm going to anywhere he's going. I'm carrying his stuff, carrying it in everywhere with him. And then I start gathering some magic props, and I start doing learning more magic tricks. And then he starts booking me out for magic shows on my own. He takes a healthy cut of the profits from these shows. My first magic show was up in Windsor.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I didn't realize how far away. This is back before Google Maps. I had the Thomas guide, so I'm flipping the map.
You went right off the top of it.
I'm like, this isn't even on the map here. This is really far away.
Yep.
So he drew me a map of where it was, and it was still further. And it took me, I hit traffic. I think it took me about 2.5 hours to get there. Mm-hmm. Paid for my gas, and it was an awesome experience. I'm like, wow. And so I think at the end of the day, I might have cleared like $30. And I'm like, this is awesome. And he said, welcome to the pros.
I was going to say, now you're a professional musician.
You're making money. And so I got into that. And then I got to a point where I started booking my own shows. I started putting ads in parent magazines and the Yellow Pages and all sorts of places to book shows. And the toughest part about doing magic is getting the gigs. And that's like most occupations in life.
Yeah. Getting
the jobs. And so I started doing that while I was going to school. And I'm showing up here. And my friend Bob Manberg, he hands me this issue of the Atlantic one day. And it says something that I don't recall what the article, the premise was that perhaps the next president of the United States will be a kid show entertainer. And he's like, hey, well, we're on track. We got to do something. So again, somebody planting seeds. And, as we were talking before the podcast began, I'm currently running for Pleasant Hill City Council, District 5. And I've never run for public office before. So this is the new adventure several years later. But I found these adventures just pop up, and I'm always willing to dig in and go for these things. But while I was here at DVC, I kept participating in Manny Gonzalez's class. I took just about every history class that he had to offer because I'm like, I like this guy. He sees potential, and there's professors like that, and I had better professors here, I felt, than anywhere else in academia. And I honestly mean that because the caring and the attention that I received here was just beyond compare. And what they saw in me, it pushed me in a direction that I never would have gone. I did not see that in myself, and they saw something, and they were willing to tell me that they saw it. And I thought that was fantastic.
And that's actually the story I hear. Excuse me. And that's the story I hear constantly is just that this is a place people show up. They're I don't know what I'm going to do. They're basically checking the boxes as far as anything goes. And then they find somebody, and it's usually here, that goes, you can do better than this. Mm-hmm. And they really push them to beyond that. And so it sounds like this was a really transformative experience here at DVC. Not only that, you became a professional magician at that point.
True.
So you get done with DVC. Where'd you go on from?
After DVC, I transferred to Cal.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. Because I
Go Bears.
Go Bears. I applied, and I got into, I didn't apply to too many schools. I got into UC Santa Barbara, UC Davis, and Cal. And it seemed like everywhere I applied, I got into, because I had good study habits, I had good grades, and I was able to show up. And that's what I learned how to do. And that might be my military background, The leadership skills I got there, I don't know, but I knew how to show up. I rarely missed class. I'm a guy who knows I can show up places. That's my gift to the world. I'm able to show up, and if anybody is listening about keys to success at school, show up to class. Go to office hours. And I tell this to my kids. I've got 3 kids, and 2 of them are in college right now. My daughter, she goes to Humboldt. She's in her senior year. She's working on she's going to get her teaching credential. They've got an amazing program right there that you get your teaching credential during your 4-year degree.
Wow.
It is amazing. Not many places offer that. So it's an incredible program. And my son, he's beginning his sophomore year at UC Santa Cruz.
Okay.
And what I've told them, go to office hours.
Yep.
Not many people do. And there's 2 reasons you do. The first is figure out something you might have missed in class. The second is get the professor to know who you are. It is so much better to, when they're looking at grades, when they are looking at papers, to identify who you are. And they are going to say they do not pay any attention. They will tell you that all day long, but they do. They pay attention. They know who you are. So do not worry about that. Definitely here at DVC, you need to develop those relationships. Also, let me throw a third reason. Letters of recommendation. When you're transferring off to different schools, you want to be able to come back and rely upon people to send letters of recommendation. And that's just fantastic to be able to develop those relations. And that's what I did. I had Manny Gonzalez and I had Bob Manberg write those letters of recommendation, and they went well. They were fantastic because I had these relationships, and they were honest to goodness relationships. These people were fantastic, and there were many other professors that I had here as well. I'm just singling out a couple. In the theater program, I absolutely love that. I was big into the theater. One of my favorite productions we did was Dark of the Moon, and I love the theater program. And so there's just so much that so many great things that happen here that. Just get involved. And so transferring to Cal was a different experience. The classes there are gigantic. You get less attention. You're just a number. But even there, I still did the same thing. I went to office hours. I tried to engage with my professors. I had to engage with TAs, which was fine because the TAs were the ones grading the paper. So I knew the same things that I had learned here, that get involved, figure those things out. And that was fine too. And then I went into smaller classes there, and I was able to, the professors that I did engage with, those were the ones who ended up writing my letters of recommendation when I went to law school. So, so I didn't stop there because I wanted to get a PhD in history. And then I thought about the practicality of it. Not that the world doesn't need another history professor. And I think it does. So if anybody's listening that wants to be that history professor, go for it. But I thought about the job market for somebody with a Juris Doctorate. It's there's much more lucrative. There's having a doctoral degree is get one in 3 years, and you can still do stuff. So that was my thinking there. And like that worst case scenario is I don't practice law ever, but now I do. And so I went to Golden Gate University in San Francisco, and I'm really glad I did. It was an incredible experience. Law school is it's nothing like anything else. It's tougher than any other part of academia. You think differently. As somebody who loved the liberal arts, it does not love you back when you go to law school.
Okay.
Yeah. It does not treat you the same. But there are people who do just fine in there. My thinking is a little bit different than that. But just because it was different there, that does not translate the same to the practice of law. Because there is so much human interaction in the practice of law that it is completely different. And I'm so glad that I did, because it is just a world that I absolutely adore.
So what kind of law do you practice?
Great question. I do estate planning and probate litigation.
Okay.
So I draft a lot of wills and trusts, and I litigate that, but I also do a lot of guardianships and conservatorships. And what those are, guardianships are custody for non-parents. So what that means is if there's a grandparent who has custody of a minor child, that would be a guardianship. And a conservatorship, if there is an individual who has custody of somebody who does not have capacity, maybe somebody has dementia, or maybe there's a disabled adult. And one of the biggest examples that we had of a conservatorship in the past couple of years was Britney Spears.
Oh, yes.
And a couple of years ago, I was on the Probate and Mental Health Advisory Committee with the Judicial Council. I was appointed by the Chief Justice of the California Supreme Court to be on this committee. And I was the legislative subcommittee chair of that. And came across our desk was the legislation to change to make it easier to get out of conservatorships. Thus, it was really, we call it the Britney Spears law. And so I had my hand in freeing Britney. So you are all welcome. And,
yes.
It's
Well, and that was a tough situation for her. I mean, it was a hot mess, and
Yes, and the question comes up: it's like, how can you be working in Las Vegas every single night and then be conserved and not be able to make all your own financial decisions? Which is exactly the reason that laws had to change. And what was that type of conservatorship appropriate? Because there are other types of conservatorships for people with mental health issues. These are called LPS conservatorships, which stands for Lanterman Petrus Short, which was an act which was passed in 1972. And those were, they're specific types of conservatorships.
Okay.
So they're a little bit different, and maybe it might have applied for her, but I don't know. I haven't seen the paperwork. I haven't seen the file, so I can't make any type of long distance judgment.
Well, and it's tough to judge anything by way of tabloid.
No, what we do, and it's still like, it makes great conversation.
It does.
Coffee,
it does. So in your law practice, what is your favorite thing to do in there? Is there like something that you go, oh yeah, I get to do this today?
There's several of those, and that's what makes it a great practice.
Okay.
So part of it, the estate planning. I absolutely love the estate planning, and here's what I love about it: is sitting around and talking to people about their stuff. I deal in death, and I love telling people that because it sounds cool. It sounds way cooler than it is. And so when people ask, "What do you do?" Well, I deal in death. And as a Marine, it's
I was going to say there's a nice tie in there. So.
There is, and so I try to tie it in as much as possible. But we sit around and we talk about what do you want to do with your stuff? Because everybody is really overly intimidated by the concept of, I have to do this. It's a big dramatic thing, and the moment I do it, I'm going to die. It's like, no, it's not that bad. And I'll talk to somebody for half an hour, 45 minutes, and we'll knock it out. And really, it's, well, where do you want your stuff to go? Well, I want it to go to my kids. Well, who do you want to manage it? Well, I want Aunt Virginia or Aunt Samantha or Uncle John to handle it. All right. You want them to pull the plug when you're in irreversible coma? Well, yeah. All right. You want to donate your organs? Not really. Well, okay. Maybe I do. All right. Let's call it a day. Like, well, that's it? And there's a couple more questions in there, but really that's the essence of it. It's simple, it's short, and it's just you can see the weight lifted off their shoulders when they realize that it wasn't that big of a deal. So that's one of them that I absolutely love. The other is when I'm doing guardianships, and because I frequently get court appointed to represent kids.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, so which can be a heavy burden, but what's nice about that is I'm coming in kind of like Switzerland, where I'm only representing the interests of this kid. Usually there might be people fighting about it. So frequently they'll come into this where the grandparents they might have custody of the kid, or the minor is living with them. And they come into this position because maybe the parents are out of the picture. Maybe the parents are on drugs. Who knows? It could be any number of reasons. Maybe the parents have passed away, and they could be fighting with the parents. They could be fighting with another set of grandparents. Any number of situations. And so I come in and I'm representing the kids in this situation. And so it's a nice neutral position, and I can come in and just tell everybody to kind of buzz off. And then I'm just hanging out with the kid, and they could be any number of ages. If they're super young, like under 3, they're not really going to care too much about what's going on, but they're going to feel the tension. Mm-hmm. So my job is to clear away the tension as much as possible. And if they're a little bit older, they're definitely going to feel that tension. And I'm going to want to know what they want to do. And there's always this push and pull. So it's, again, trying to sift and sort and try to get everybody to remain calm around them. And my methods, I'll hang out at their house. I'll sit there. We'll chat. Sometimes we'll watch TV. Sometimes I play a lot of video games. I'll hang out and I'll play video games with kids. And sometimes with kids who've maybe been through some traumatic incidents, I'll sit there. I'll just walk into the house. I'll sit down and we'll start playing video games without saying a word. They might look over at me, and maybe not even look over at me. I'll start playing video games, and we'll just eventually start talking, but maybe not even talk, and just developing a rapport, and then maybe I'll do some magic tricks. Then they can't help it.
Well, yeah, I was going to say nobody can resist a magician. So,
exactly.
yeah.
They're like, what's going on here? Who is this guy? And what? All right, he seems all right. And that's usually finding that rapport is one of the. It's a great thing. And through that, I've ended up doing quite a bit of writing for this thing called Continuing Education for the Bar. I write for several publications regarding guardianships, conservatorships, powers of attorney. And again, this is a guy who got out of the Marines, had no idea what he was going to do, just showed up at DVC, like, I'm not really sure. And then I got a professor here who says, you got a better mind than you think.
Yeah.
And, those little sparks.
Well, and it sounds like you have a really good way of being able to develop rapport with other folks. I mean, especially if kids are in a tough spot, because I'm imagining that if they're in a guardianship situation where now you've been dragged into the picture, life is not pretty, it's tough, and developing that rapport. Mm-hmm. So now let's talk a little bit about, you've decided to get into politics, and I'm excited about that, because unless there's something else you want to visit real quick.
Well, and I'll go in a roundabout way, because so part of this journey is I've been active in the Pleasant Hill Baseball Association for years. I've been the head commissioner of the Pleasant Hill Baseball Association for the past 5 years. Okay, this is entering my 6th year of being the head commissioner, and with that, so it's a league of 1,900 players. So there's a lot of people, a lot of families, and they're not all Pleasant Hill families. They're from other cities as well, but 1,900 kids. So it's a lot of kids, a lot of teams. And there's 17 other commissioners that report to me. Mm-hmm. And so I send out a lot of emails to a lot of families. And what's kind of fun is I've been going around talking to people. They're like, oh, I get your emails. And and my emails are quite clever at times. And it's my writing style is almost very much like I talk. A lot of parentheticals, some dashes, hyphens, and a lot of dramatic pauses. But they are like, oh, you talk just like you write. Oh, okay. But so it's really it's funny to bump into these people. So I've been doing that. My kids went through the program. I don't have any kids in the league doing that. I'm a big believer in the community. The motto of the league is every kid plays.
Yep.
And it's really important. And it drives me crazy when coaches are not playing all their players. And I talk to them, and they'll have an aha moment. They're like, oh, you're right. Okay, I get it. I understand what I need to do, and they just write it. And even when parents, when they're just acting silly on the sidelines, I'll talk to them. And so I'm in charge of anytime somebody gets kicked out of a game, anytime a parent gets removed, I'm the one who has to talk to them. So I'm used to this level of chaos, and it's fine. But it's just keeping the league going right. And with that, I've been able to work with the Rec and Park, and because we have to organize the fields, we have to organize a parade, we do all sorts of stuff throughout the season. And it was several months ago, I was talking to Rec and Park, and we were talking about the redistricting. I'm like, oh, my district, we're in District 5 because of the redistricting. And Michelle Lacey, she pointed that out. She's like, yeah, nobody is running right now. And at the time, nobody was running. And so I'm like, okay, well, looks like I think I see my next path here. Mm-hmm. And so I'm kind of always been the type of guy who's just stumbled into the next thing. I'm just like, oh, this is it. And I've done a lot of community service. really been a public servant in just in everything I've done because also at the same time I was active in the Contra Costa County Bar Association. I was on the board of directors. I became the president of that association, and really just serving all of Contra Costa County, helping attorneys and them helping me. It's just a wonderful organization with everything that it does. So I'm used to that end of it there as well, but. Here I'm like, well, this is just throwing my head into the next ring that's right before me. And so I think it was a year and a half ago when Ken Carlson it was a year and a half ago, Ken Carlson elevated to supervisor. There was an opening there, and Alan Vinson was appointed. I had made myself available to go on the city council at that time. I wasn't selected, but I was willing to throw my hat in the ring then. So I knew I was kind of ready to try something like this. And so this was just the next step. Like, I'm going to go through the whole election process. And it's been great because I've had a lot of support. I've had a lot of support from current city council members. I've been endorsed by the current mayor, Matt Rinn. He's been backing me, just super supportive. I've had great support from Rec and Park members as well, because I've got that well-established relationship with these individuals. And it's been fantastic, just in the support from the community. And that's where I see it the most is being out there in the community. And it's an extension of what I've been doing. And it's neat to see just everything in action. So it's and what I've loved about it too, is I drive, I used to drive when I was going to DVC. I lived on the corner of Boyd and Cleveland, right across from Fire Station 5. And I would drive through Gregory Gardens to here to DVC. I had gotten a motorcycle by that time, so much better parking. So if you're also another tip, if you're coming to DVC, use public transportation. It's wonderful. It drops you right off here, or get a motorcycle, or e-bikes are the way to go right now. Get an e-bike if you do not want to ride a regular bicycle, but there's plenty of bike parking. I was looking around here. There's a lot of bike parking. So do that. It's the way to go. But I had a motorcycle, or get a motorcycle because you can park right in the front row. The permits for motorcycles are less expensive than a car. And so I park right in the front row, but I would drive down the street, down Lucille, and I live right off Lucille now. So it's
okay.
Yeah. So it's just awesome to see where I've come. Yeah. And I love that component of this as well. It's, just coming right around. And so it's neat to be involved, and I look forward to continuing to be involved. And so that's where I've made my way to right now.
So it sounds like, I mean, almost the lessons you learned about, the lessons you learned about showing up, going to office hours, and doing your homework. It's like it's gotten you here to a point where you're running for city council, and that's a lot to be said for that. I mean, are there any other lessons that you want to throw out there?
The math lab. Yes.
You
cannot forget the math lab. Now, so when I showed up to DVC, I was I don't remember the name of the math class. It was math 8A or something like that. It's the lowest possible math class that you can take. And I hate to be a stereotype here of a Marine Corps machine gunner, but math was not what I was focused on while I was in the Marines. And now guys and gals who are in the mortarmen, they do math because they're doing angles and stuff. We machine gunners were shooting, and we're not really paying attention. Now, so when I got here, I was in the lowest math before I could take even the general ed math that you needed to be transferable. But I learned about the math lab. Mm-hmm. And I started going to the math lab, and they have people there assisting you, and it was incredible. I would take my math homework there every day. And they said, the examples in the book are what's on the homework here. These are the problems. So use those examples and that. And it took me forever to figure that out, and then it clicked. And then I saw that, I'm like, oh, that's what it is. And then they said, these examples in the book, these are going to be on the test. They're just going to switch around the numbers. And they would show me this time and time again. I'm like, oh, no, it can't be that easy. And then it was that easy. And I kept taking math until I kind of burned out. They said, you're a liberal arts major. You don't need to be doing this. So here at DVC, I went from the lowest possible math class to calculus.
Wow.
And even my calculus teacher, she said, you know, you don't need to be here. I said, I know, I don't, but I am. And I am here because I think I do need to be here. And that was, I thought, the perfect place to be. I didn't need to be in calculus, but I really wanted to be in calculus because it was really my journey here. In calculus is, if you're not a math guy, it's horrible.
Yes.
Just for anybody out there, but it's worth it. It's worth the challenge. I recommend everybody take it. It's a tough class, especially if you don't think like a math person. You're going to be hitting the math lab quite a bit. Hit the math lab. The math lab is just such a wonderful resource. And so that's the little tip. Resources are out there. Mm-hmm. There are resources out there everywhere you go. You just have to tap into them. You got to figure out where they're at, and then you have to use them. And I see them out there all the time, and I'm always pointing that out to everyone that, hey, utilize the resources. Once you do, you'll be glad you did. And so the math lab has always been my number one example of this is what I did. This is what I was able to accomplish by utilizing resources. I was not prepared for anything else other than the lowest possible class until I utilized resources. And it took me to a direction that I didn't know I could go. And I tell it to my kids, and they say, no way are we doing that. You're nuts. Like we got our mother's genes, fortunately, and we are not doing that.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good thing about gene pools is that, you know, it's two of us. So it's,
yeah. So you got any other words of wisdom or anything you want to pass along?
Well, I think I've done pretty good here as far as.
I think it's been spectacular.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Yeah, this is a blast. I'm so glad the Alumni Association is up and active. It's something that I absolutely love. Again, I love DVC. I sing its praises all the time. It's the only diploma that I have on my desk. And because I think it's that important. Yeah. This is where I got my start. And this is, I have my Alpha Gamma Sigma Honor Society on my desk as well. And I think I was in other honor societies, but I don't think they ever gave me a certificate. So okay. So that one, they don't make my desk. And so it's that important that to have this. It's such a foundation of the community. And it's really important to have that connection as well. And so, I know not everybody wants to be coming to a community college. They just don't. But for a person like me who was fresh out of the military with, I didn't really have too many plans. It was the perfect place for me to come. It gave me direction. It helped me out. And the people here, they assisted me with the direction and a place to go. And I'm forever grateful. And I made lifelong friends here. Like I said, I bumped into somebody that just the other day that I've been friends with. I hadn't seen for 20 years, but we just picked up right where we left off. We used to go down. It was the Student Union Center was the little coffee shop down below was just freshly opened back then. I don't remember the year it opened, but it was brand new. And we would go down there. We would hang out every single day. We were taking about the same classes, Sue and I were, and it was awesome. So you meet people, hang out, and you'll be surprised about the outcomes. And it was funny because Sue always said she's like she was going to be a lawyer, and I thought she was crazy. I'm like, who would want to do that?
Dear, you are.
I know exactly who was crazy enough to do that. And and I can say this because I'm not using it as on a job description, but so frequently too, I sit as a temporary judge because I'm like a substitute teacher, right? And I fill in at times there, and it's really an incredible experience for to do, and it's called a judge pro tempore, and it's an awesome experience to help out in the court, and it's an awesome experience to be able to see that side of the cases and how everybody is. I primarily only do it in the probate courts because that's where I practice. But I just absolutely love it because I'm getting to help.
Yeah.
And, for a guy like me that, again, was not planning on doing much other than kind of hanging out with my girlfriend, it's just absolutely incredible. So it's the world it has so much potential. And every individual coming here has so much potential. And I just, I can't wait to see what everybody else does.
Yeah. So if anybody wants to get a hold of you, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
You just come and knock on my door. It's probably the best way. 10 Fairfax Court. So my wife will kill me for saying that, but that's fine. Well, for my campaign, you can go to www.ogforph.com. That could either be ogforph.com or OG, the number 4, ph.com, or you could email me at Oliver at ogforph.com, or you call me 925-367-8259. That's my mobile number. I look forward to all the
phone calls.
All the phone calls. Yeah, you can call my office.
Yeah.
Or you could go to my business website as well, which is far more entertaining too, because I know I mentioned that I deal in death. And my website does say that one is www.probate.com. And that one I find quite amusing. And others might find it morbid. And there's a reason for that because it kind of is. And again, when you deal in death, it's kind of morbid.
Yeah.
But it's just what it is. So it's
And these will all be in the notes. The notes in the article we'll publish with this. So this will absolutely.
Nice.
Because it's like it's kind of like when I go on YouTube and I see a clip from a movie I want to watch. What's the name of the movie?
I know. They don't do that.
Yeah, but we're going to put the notes to the movie in the notes and on our LinkedIn article.
Okay.
So,
and I should shout out my kids, Olivia, Gus, and Lex, and my wife, Anne.
There you go.
I don't want them to come back later on and say, you didn't even mention our names. What's up with that?
Yeah, really. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. This has been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So we'll have to visit again and see how, maybe in the springtime, we'll see how you did.
Yes. Yeah.
I think it'll be exciting.
Either way, I'll come back. Be happy to.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for tuning in to DVC Alumni, where every story inspires the next. The official podcast of the Diablo Valley College Alumni Association, celebrating 75 years of DVC's incredible impact on education, careers, and community. We hope today's episode gave you valuable insights into the journeys of our alumni and the powerful resources available at DVC. Don't forget to join us every Tuesday for inspiring alumni stories, and on Resource Thursdays, where we spotlight DVC's departments and services, showing you how they're shaping student success. Until next time, keep pushing boundaries and exploring the connections that make DVC's legacy so special. And remember, DVC Alumni, where every story inspires the next.